Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel. I am your friendly neighborhood Uncle Pete, and this is my series Nails in a Coffin, where we learn that with great kills, there must also come great nails. If you're watching this video the day it goes up, we have just 17 days left until Halloween. I love the holiday. I know you guys love it as well, so yeah, I can't wait for that day to get here. We're getting close to the end of our stay in Haddonfield, so here's a look at a summary of the average nails in a coffin for all the Halloween movies I've covered so far. And before I get started, this is the third time I found letters stabbed into my front door, and this is the latest one. And I really don't know what to do about this. Should I take it seriously? Should I worry about it? Yeah, I really don't know what to do. I don't know what the hell that just was. So Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 picks up right after his remake of Halloween Ends. We see Laurie walking down the street, covered in blood, still holding the gun after shooting Michael Myers in the head. She's in a severe state of shock when Sheriff Brackett finds her and gets her to the hospital. When Laurie's in surgery, coroners, they're loading Michael's body into the back of their van. Sheriff Brackett tells them to lock the place up tight when they get there, so, the hospital is nice and secure. Alan, who is driving the van, and Gary are having a lewd conversation on the way back to county. Alan takes his eyes off the road when he's talking to Gary. They're laughing at their conversation, and then Gary starts to yell, "Cow, cow," right in time for Alan to look in front of him finally and plow into a cow that was standing in the middle of the road. The cow pretty much just disintegrates on impact. The van is destroyed. Alan was killed on impact, and Gary is still alive, but he's gravely injured. Michael was in the back of the van. He wakes up and he kicks through the back of the doors, and then he gets out of the van, picks up a shard of glass. He walks over to Gary's window, who thinks he's safe for a second, but we know he's not. He takes that shard of glass that he picked up, and he saws Gary's head off right there, killing him. So, Alan was the first to die in this sequel, and I'm going to award this moron one nail in the coffin. He took his eyes off the road for about 3 to 5 seconds when he was talking to Gary, and he should have seen the cow in the road. For the amount of time he took his eyes off the road, he should have seen the cow either on the side of the road or in front of the road ahead of him. Yeah, I don't understand how he never saw this, how he wasn't able to avoid it. And so I'm approximating they were probably driving around 55 miles an hour, and in the 3 to 5 seconds he took his eyes off the road, he only would have traveled less than 100 feet. So how do you not able to see 100 feet in front of you? So yeah, Alan was a moron, and this idiot earned himself one nail in the coffin. Gary, I'm also going to give him one nail in the coffin. He wasn't driving, but yeah, he's pretty much still a moron. He also should have seen the cow in the road or even on the side of the road. And all he did was yell, "Cow, cow," in such a way Alan didn't respond in time. I feel as though if he yelled, "Hey, stop the effing van," or he could have grabbed the wheel to serve it or do something, it's just, instead of just yelling, "Cow, cow," yeah, that would have been a smarter idea. He was stupid on this. He was, yeah, pretty much a despicable human being with the conversation he was having. But that has no weight on how many nails I give him. Yeah, he was stupid, and he and Alan are both getting one nail in the coffin. After Michael kills Gary, he starts walking towards Haddonfield Memorial Hospital, where Laurie is now just getting out of surgery. She wakes up from her surgery, and she goes into Annie's room, who did survive Michael's attack, and she's still unconscious after her surgery herself. Nurse Daniels finds Laurie in the room and tries to get her back to the room where Laurie was. As they're walking back, there's a code emergency, and Nurse Daniels leaves Laurie in the middle of the hallway to attend to this emergency. And before Laurie can get back to her room, she starts going looking for the nurse because she needs some pain meds for her head. She gets to the reception area. Nurse Daniels walks out of her room and turns around slowly, and there's a slash going across her face. She then acts like she just notices it, and she starts to scream and falls to the floor. Laurie takes off running when Michael walks out of the room, approaching Nurse Daniels on the floor. He stands over her and stabs her to death multiple times, brutally killing her. I was on the fence with this kill since we didn't see how Nurse Daniels got her face injury from Michael, and we only see him pretty much finishing her off. However, I'm still going to give her a nail rating based on the information at hand, and I'm going to give Nurse Daniels one nail in the coffin. She never screamed or ran when she first got that slash across her face. How she didn't notice it was there, doesn't make any sense. And then she was calmly walking out of the room with her face slashed as if she really just didn't notice. And then she notices, she falls on the floor. Now, this section of the movie was a nightmare Laurie was having, so that's probably why the nurse acted this way. But regardless, I'm still going to treat it as if it was real, and yeah, it just doesn't make any sense to me, her reaction. So, Nurse Daniels, I'm going to give you one nail in the coffin. So we're still in the hospital, and Laurie is trying to get away from Michael. And this whole dream she's having is pretty much paying homage to Halloween 2, which, took place all in a hospital. So in this dream, Laurie's trying to get away from Michael, and she makes her way outside of the hospital where there's like a torrential downpour happening. And she finds a guard shack, and she climbs through the window and hides in it. Buddy, the guard, shows up, and he finds this frantic Laurie hiding underneath the desk. He attempts to calm her down, and he goes outside to get his truck so he can take Laurie back inside the hospital. He locks the door, but Laurie's still waiting for him, and when he gets back, before he can actually unlock the door, Michael kills him by slamming an axe into his back. Buddy the guard, hearing himself, two nails in a coffin. He didn't do anything wrong here. He found Laurie and jumped into action to get her some help. He saw how upset Laurie was and the state of shock she was in, and he only thought, hey, I gotta help this young woman. Unfortunately for him, Michael pulled another surprise kill from behind, not really giving Buddy a chance for survival. So I'm not going to jump to any conclusions here.
It was a jump to conclusions, Matt.
And I'm going to give Buddy two nails in the coffin. After Michael kills Buddy, he destroys the shack with his axe, just tearing it apart so he can get inside and get the Laurie. Laurie is still cowering on the floor. Michael has busted his way in, and he holds his axe overhead and brings it down onto Laurie, who wakes up screaming from her nightmare. After Laurie wakes up, we learn that it's October 29th, 1 year later, and she's currently living with Sheriff Brackett and Annie, and she's really suffering still from PTSD from what she had to live through 1 year prior. So Michael has pretty much living like a hobo for the past year. He's been staying in this old cabin on a piece of land owned by Floyd. Floyd's in his truck with his daughter, Jasleen, and his son-in-law, Sherman. They find Michael on their land. They attempt to run him off, and this is something they've done a few times before, apparently. So Floyd and Sherman get out of the truck and beat Michael with the baseball bat and a tire iron. They beat Michael until Jasleen gets out of the truck and begs him to stop before they kill him. So they stop, and they're getting back in their truck. Everybody's walking back to it. Michael gets up from his beating, puts his mask on, and Jasleen gets in the truck, and before Sherman can, Michael grabs him and slashes him across the eyes with his knife. Floyd runs over to Michael, hits him with the tire iron again, but it has no effect on Michael. Michael stabs Floyd, picks him up, and impales his stomach on these deer antlers that were on the hood of his truck, killing him. Michael then goes over to Sherman and finishes him off with a few stabs. And then Jasleen is screaming, freaking out inside the truck. He pulls her out, drags her across the ground, and kills her with 5 stabs to the chest. So let's start with Floyd here. I'm going to give him one nail in the coffin. If they beat a regular person the way they beat Michael, they most likely would have died. And Floyd and Sherman didn't expect Michael to get up after that beating. But there's no way he's going to get more than one nail in the coffin. There were ways that he could have avoided his death. And, Floyd pretty much just fell into the trap of hitting a person and then waiting to see if it was effective after you hit them before continuing to beat this person that most likely is going to try and kill you. So, yeah, he could have approached this so many better ways. So, yeah, Floyd, you're going to get one nail in the coffin. Sherman? Yeah, just like his father-in-law, he's also going to get one nail in the coffin. All the same reasons I gave Floyd one nail pretty much go for Sherman. Yeah, really nothing to add or change with that nail rating. Yeah, they made a lot of stupid decisions for what they did to Michael and how they could have avoided his death. So, yeah, Sherman and Floyd, one nail in the coffin. Jasleen, I'm going to give her 2 nails in the coffin. She stopped her husband and father-in-law from beating Michael to death, and she just wanted to help him, and this kill just shows everybody how ruthless Michael really is. Someone killing somebody who just wanted to help them out. I was almost going to award her one nail, but since she could have tried to get out of the truck, but she was probably really terrified, and at least she struggled and didn't freeze up. So she's going to sit comfortably with 2 nails in the coffin. The next 3 kills happen at the Red Rabbit Lounge, and this is the strip club where Michael's mama used to dance. The strip club has gained some notoriety since it was known that Deborah Myers, the mother of Michael Myers, danced there. Howard, one of the bouncers at the Red Rabbit Lounge, was taking the trash out, and he runs into Michael, who was standing outside. Howard is trying to be a tough guy. He thinks Michael is just a bum and tells him to leave. Of course, Michael's not going to answer him. Michael blocks Howard's way back into the club, and Howard makes some threats that have no effect. He tries to punch Michael, again, has no effect. Michael just grabs Howard, gives him a choke slam, and then stomps his head, smashing it into a bloody pile of bone and brain matter. Howard, he earned himself one nail in the coffin. His tough guy approach to get rid of Michael was really bad and a little bit cringy, and he should have known that it wasn't working. And he was kind of doomed for the moment that he ran into Michael because how ruthless Michael is. But his actions still led to him getting stomped to death and getting one nail in the coffin. After Michael finishes off Howard, he goes into the strip club. Lou, the owner, is there with one of the dancers. They get freaked out when they see Michael standing there. Lou threatens him to leave, and of course we know Mikey's not going to listen. Lou takes a revolver out of his desk and points it at Michael. He starts to threaten him. Of course, Michael is just going to stand there. So Lou runs up to him with the gun in his hand, and so Michael's able to grab him, break his arm viciously, and then he kills him by bashing his head into a wall. Misty was unable to get away from Michael. The emergency exit was locked, and Howard's body was actually hanging by one of the other exits, so she couldn't really go anywhere. And after Michael killed Lou, he grabbed Misty and killed her the same way by bashing her head into the wall until she died. Lou, he earned himself one nail in the coffin. He saw Michael and knew that it was bad news. So, so much bad news that he actually pulled a gun on him. So this tells me Lou felt threatened. But he ran up to Michael to shoot him, like maybe the bullet would have gotten there faster. I don't know his reasoning. And this allowed Michael to actually get within arm's reach and get his hands on him, break his arm with the bone coming through the skin, and then having his head bashed into the wall. Misty, I'm going to bump her up a little bit and give her 2 nails in the coffin. She knew there was danger, and she actually tried to get away from Michael. The exit she tried was locked. Howard's body was hanging there. She didn't even struggle. She did struggle, I should say, when Michael grabbed her and, he started to bash her head around. But her kill, the way it was set up, was unavoidable. So for this, Misty, and she did actually rip Michael's mask, so she was struggling. So definitely not going to give her 1 nail. Misty earned herself a solid 2 nails in the coffin. Later that night, Laurie and her friends attend this giant Halloween party, and they are dressed as Dr. Frankenfurter, Magenta, and Columbia, of course, from the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Harley, who's dressed as Dr. Frankenfurter, hooks up with Wolfie, and they go to his van for some sex. Before they get started, Wolfie has to use the bathroom, so he jumps out of the van to go take a piss. While he's standing by a tree doing his business, Michael comes from out of nowhere and plunges a knife deep into Wolfie's back, killing him. Wolfie, he's of course going to get 2 nails in a coffin. Yeah, he did nothing wrong here. He was just standing by a tree peeing. He didn't do anything stupid that could have prevented him, from being killed. He went outside to go take a piss. That's not something you do that's going to get you killed. So he was probably dead before he even knew really what was happening to him. Unavoidable kill. So Wolfie, a comfortable 2 nails in a coffin. Harley was waiting back at the van for Wolfie to return. But she gets a surprise from Michael when he breaks through the back of the van. Harley has no time to get away. He just grabs her, wraps his hands around her throat, and strangles her to death, and I think he even snaps her neck as well. Like Wolfie, I'm going to award Harley 2 nails in a coffin. She was just chilling in the van. She wanted to get lucky. Michael busted in, grabbed her, and choked her to death. She wasn't going to get out of his grip. Of course, he's, greatly overpowered her. She attempted to scream and struggle, but she was very much, outmatched by Michael. And he just overpowered her, killed her, choking her to death, and snapping her neck. She really didn't stand a chance. She didn't make any stupid decisions. So just like Wolfie, Harley, you're going to get 2 nails in the coffin. Deputy Neil was guarding Sheriff Brackett's house while Annie was home. Since the attack last year, Sheriff Brackett is extremely overprotective over Annie, and I cannot blame him. Officer Neil had to guard from outside the house. Annie was just refusing to let him inside the house. She wasn't a big fan of her dad being so overprotective. So she made him stand outside. He's outside looking around. He's got his flashlight and a weapon. And when he's standing there, he goes to light a cigarette. But as soon as he does this, Michael appears from out of nowhere and strangles Officer Neely to death. Deputy Neil, he was there on guard to protect Annie. And she wouldn't let him in the house, like I said. So he had to stay outside. But I'm still going to give him 1 nail in the coffin. He wasn't any good at his job if it was that easy for Michael to grab him from behind and kill him. I don't know how. He was looking around. He had a flashlight. He had the ability. He had a weapon. But no, he went to go light a cigarette so Michael can walk up from behind and grab him and choke him to death. So Michael had to at least be walking up. He should have seen something. He should have heard something. He should have been a better guard. You guys and gals all know that I'm, very more critical on law enforcement officers and security officers in horror films because they're always poorly written. So yeah, Deputy Neil, one nail in the coffin. This next kill really, really bummed me out. I hated it when they killed Laurie in Halloween Resurrection, and this is another kill out of the entire franchise that I probably hate just as much. Annie was one of the very few people to survive an attack from Michael Myers. She was upstairs in the bathroom getting ready for a shower, and after Michael killed the deputy, he went inside the house to find Annie. Michael shows up while Annie's in the bathroom. She slowly turns around to see him standing there. She takes off running and screaming. We really don't see the kill, but we do hear it, and it's kind of unsettling. It's one of the better parts of this disappointing movie, when we hear what's happening to Annie. Normally, I don't rate off-screen deaths, but I think we see enough of her kill to give it a nail rating, and I'm going to award Annie 2 nails in a coffin. I wish it could be more because I love this character so much, and of course, Danielle Harris. I had mentioned, she survived an attack from Michael Myers, and she took off running. As soon as she saw Michael, she knew to run away and get health. And like I said, this death really bummed me out. I wanted to give her more nails in a coffin, but the way it was set up, her death was unavoidable. Yeah, I hate that they killed her like this. And her death was even, drawn out because she really didn't die till Laura came home and found her body. So she had to suffer for a long time. Really mean-spirited. Sorry, Annie, but I'm only going to be able to give you 2 nails in a coffin. While Laurie and her friend Maya were at the Halloween party, Laurie had a really bad panic attack, and Maya, walked her home. Maya and Laurie, they were found Annie lying in a pool of blood on the bathroom floor, and Laurie was holding Annie, trying to save her. Maya ran downstairs to call the police. She ran outside to get the house number, and when she does, she looks at the house number. She's telling the police the address. Michael grabs her, pulls her back in the house, attacks her. He throws her down on the dining room table and stabs her to death. I'm going to give Maya 2 nails in a coffin. This was a very quick kill. She just witnessed, her friend in this horrific act of violence, and, she went downstairs to call for help. She didn't know the house number, so, she ran outside to go get it. And as soon as she told the operator the number, Michael grabbed her. Michael was like 2 or 3 times this little poor girl's size. She really didn't have much of a chance, but she also didn't do anything stupid, that aided in her getting killed, so to speak. I didn't see how she could have avoided this death by any stupid decisions. So, Maya, I'm going to give you 2 nails in the coffin. After Michael kills Maya, he goes upstairs to get to Laurie. He's busting on the door to where Laurie is. Of course, she freaks out, and, when she sees what's happening, and at least she runs out of the house, and she's trying to get to safety. She runs through this large field, and she makes her way to a nearby road. She's in hysterics. She flags down a passing car. Bex, who's driving the car, he stops it, and he gets out to help her. He helps her get inside the passenger seat, and he's going to go get her to safety. He's walking back to the driver's side, through the front of the car, but Michael appears out of nowhere, picks Bex up, and throws him through the windshield, killing him. Bex, he tried to save Laurie, and that's really commendable, and I am going to be able to award him 2 nails in a coffin. He had no time for any type of reaction once Michael grabbed him. Laurie was in hysterics. Bex probably couldn't understand what she was saying. He just knew he had to get this poor girl help. He didn't think he was going to be in any danger, so I can't blame him for that. His kill pretty much was unavoidable, but he was selfless in trying to help Laurie, so the least I can do for Bex is give him 2 nails in the coffin. After Michael kills Bex, he, Incredible Hulk, flips the car that Laurie was in, rolling it down this small hill. The crash knocks Laurie out. Michael takes her out of the car, which is on fire now, and he takes her to the shack he's been staying in, followed by the ghost of his mom and him as a child. It doesn't make any sense. The police find out where Michael is with Laurie, and before long, the shack that they're in is surrounded by police with the helicopter overhead. Loomis saw what was happening on the news, so he's now feeling guilty. He arrives at the scene, and Sheriff Bracker pretty much just wants to kill him since he blames Loomis for all of this. Brackett is telling Loomis to leave before he kills him. Loomis prevents to leave, but he just runs to the shack instead in an attempt to save Laurie, I imagine. Loomis gets into the shack and Michael is just standing there. Laurie is hallucinating that young Michael is holding her down. Yeah, this is a bad ending to the movie. So yeah, Laurie's hallucinating that a young Michael is holding her down. Loomis is there yelling at Laurie to stop, it's all in your head. Michael looks at his mom, who says something like, hey, it's time to come home, let's end this. Michael grabs Loomis, throws him down to the ground, slashes at him, and stabs him to death. Dr. Loomis earned himself one nail in the coffin. Now, granted, he did try and save Laurie. I'll commend him for that. But he did it in such a horrible way, and it was too little too late with this Loomis. I don't like the ending to this movie at all. Loomis was definitely not a hero in this movie. Nowhere near the Dr. Loomis we had in John Carpenter's Halloween and Rick Rosenthal's Halloween 2. Nothing positive really to say about Loomis at the end of this movie. Plus, he just stood there standing next to Michael, this giant man who's got a giant knife in his hand, and Loomis pretty much just ignored him. So yeah, Dr. Loomis definitely only deserves one nail in the coffin. The final death in Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 was Michael Myers. After he killed Loomis, he was holding him up by the window. Sheriff Brackett was able to see through the window, and he snipes him 2 times. This causes Michael to fall down on some farm equipment, which he gets impaled on. Laurie goes over to him, kind of caresses his face, says, I love you, brother. She then picks up the knife Michael had in his hand, stabs him multiple times in the chest, and then once in the head, fatally killing him. She then goes outside with the mask on her head. She falls down to her knees, takes the mask off, and then the screen dissolves into Laurie sitting in this white room on a white bed, down this white hallway, everything painted white. She looks up to see the ghost version of her mom and a white horse. And then, the screen cuts to black and the movie ends. I will say the director's cut to this movie is garbage. It's horrible. I don't even want to mention anything else about it. Yeah, the director's cut of this movie is just trash. The final death was Michael Myers, and I'm going to award him one nail in the coffin. It was like he was waiting to die. He just kind of let it happen. Once he killed Loomis, it was as if his mission was now complete. The scene doesn't make much sense with Michael and Laurie seeing the ghost version of their mom, like they're sharing something. It doesn't make sense. And it was like he was handing the knife to Laurie saying, hey, just finish it. Yeah, this was an odd ending to close out Rob Zombie's vision of Halloween, and it's going to end with one nail in the coffin. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Those are all my nails in the coffin for Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Here's a look at a summary of all the nails I've awarded. Here's a look at the average nails in a coffin for the first 10 movies in the Halloween franchise. Thanks again for watching this video. I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me. If you can hit the subscribe button, notification bell, that would be amazing. Keep me motivated to put out all this content. I'm really having a lot of fun doing it. So thanks for watching this video. Please come back here next week when I nail Halloween, which I've done twice already. But this is Halloween 2018, a direct sequel to the original Halloween. So I will see you guys here next week. And I guess that letter that Rob Zombie, Zob Zombie, I should say, left for me is really, yeah, I guess he was just bluffing. So not much for me to worry about.